Hi friends, today I'm going to be sharing with you how to find the current value of your property. So what is your current property worth? What about that investment property you want to buy? What is that worth? So knowing and understanding what the value of a property is or being able to find it quickly is absolutely vital for your real estate investing career. But there's so many factors that go into property value that can make one person's head spin. Well, don't fear, because today we are going to dive in how to find the current value of your property. Now, I want to break this down for you, how to find the current value of property by first understanding how properties are valued and what factors go into that. Secondly, I'm going to show you how different properties are valued based on whether it's a residence versus an investment property and so on. Finally, I want to break down the tools that will help you find the current value of your property quickly, and also a few tips that will help you enhance the value of your property. If you're ready, let's go. So what determines property value? You know, the old saying is there's three things that really determine property value. It's location, location, location. Now, I do agree with that. I think location is very important, but there's definitely other factors and economics that go into play when finding the current value of any property. But if we just take it at core value, location is definitely the primary source or the primary reason why a property has value or doesn't have value. Think about it. If there's a property out in the middle of nowhere versus a property right in downtown of a big metropolitan area, obviously the one that's in the city is going to be worth a lot more than one that's out there in the middle of the country. And why is that? It's basic economics. It's supply and demand. Now you might say, hey, I'd much rather have a piece of property out in the middle of nowhere away from people, but that's probably, you're in the minority, right? Most people want something close to work, close to shopping, close to everything else to be in the hub of the city. And so the value of that's going to be a lot more than something that's out in the middle of nowhere. And that's just basic economics, right? So supply and demand. So let's talk about that for a minute. Let's begin by understanding the basis of economics, supply and demand, with a seller's market and a buyer's market, to understand really what those terms mean. So what is a buyer's market? I'm sure you've heard that before, and usually if you've heard the term buyer's market, this is what it means. It's when the supply exceeds the demand. So there's a lot of inventory out there on the market. There's a lot of homes for sale. If there's a lot of homes for sale and you're a buyer, what do you think is going to be most advantageous to you to buy a property if there's so many out there? You have the opportunity to choose from many different homes. What's going to be most enticing for you? Yeah, you guessed it, the price. So if a seller really wants to sell their home when there's a lot of other homes for sale, they've got to come down on price usually, right? Now there might be a couple of homes that just are absolutely awesome. They don't need to go down on price, but for most people, a majority of the time, the differentiator in a buyer's market is going to be price. That's why it benefits the buyer. There's a lot of supply, a lot of inventory. The buyer is benefiting because of that. Now on the other side of the coin, it's a seller's market. That means that there's very little inventory on the market, right? There's very few homes for sale. And so a buyer or lots of buyers are looking for a home. What do you think is going to happen? The prices of those homes that are for sale, that are available, are going to be driven up by buyers' demand. So supply and demand really dictate the price of a market. So that's one factor. Now, obviously location is important. Economic supply and demand is also very important. And you can even just look recently in this scenario. We just came from a seller's market where interest rates were so low that almost anybody could go out there and get a loan. And I shouldn't say almost everybody, but a lot of people could go out there and get a loan at a very low interest rate, which made their monthly payment very doable for a lot of people based on the income that they were receiving. So what was happening? Because there was a lot of people wanting to buy a home, the prices went up. So in end of 2020, all of 2021, first part of 2022, we saw this exact thing happen where there'd be a home on the market and it'd be listed for say $500,000. Pretty soon, within 24 hours, it'd have so many offers that the highest bid will say $540,000. It's crazy to think, but that's what can happen if all the factors line up to create a seller's market. But on the other side of the coin, let's go back about 15 years ago. You guys remember the financial crisis, 2008 to 2010. It was a very challenging time to be a seller. It was a crazy time. There was a movie about it called The Big Short. It was very interesting. But one thing it talked about that I really found interesting was the fact that many banks were allowing almost anybody to get a loan. I think in the movie they called it ninja loans. No income, no assets, no job. So literally somebody could get a loan on a home with what was called stated income. They could say, hey, I make this much money and not have to back it up much. And that was crazy at the time it happened, but that's what led to the big crisis that we had. All of a sudden, you had people that had bought homes that probably never should have, and that created a huge inventory of homes on the market where prices came down. There was banks just giving homes away or selling at a very low price, and there were very few buyers because of the state of the economy. Many people were nervous to put any money into any real estate at that time. But if you were buying at that time and you held on to those properties, you came out looking great. Now, a lot of people will ask, is the current economy the same thing? I think it's a little bit different, but there are elements, right? I mean, we have taken quite a few potential buyers out of the market by taking interest rates from, say, 2.5% up to 7-8% interest. Now, if you've been alive for the last 40, 50 years, you know that interest rates have always fluctuated from maybe even the mid-teens down to maybe 2%. So a 6 or 7, 8% interest rate isn't crazy. But if you've just been watching real estate the last 20 years, then you're thinking, why would I ever pay 8% on a loan to buy a home when I know that my friends or people that I know, family members, have interest rates below 3%? So I believe what the current economy is doing, it's taking a lot of buyers out of the market trying to stabilize prices. Now, we talked about location. Does the valuation of a property in the same location always remain constant? No, of course not. There's obviously factors that go into it. There could be two homes right by each other, similar square footage, same location, but if one's really run down, obviously. But let's say all things considered in a city, homes are nice. Are there other factors? There are. Matter of fact, I own a short-term rental in a couple different areas. One I mentioned before, Blue Ridge, Georgia. Now, there's some ordinances in some developments that don't require short-term rentals. So if somebody were to look at that home, they know that they can't receive income from it. The only thing they can use it for is a secondary residence or a primary residence. It might not be worth as much as one that could be rented nightly as a short-term rental that makes revenue. So same location, same situation, but one can be used as a revenue maker. The other one is a residence or a second home. The valuation of those are going to be different because one can make money, a lot of money. The other one really can't. Same situation up by Yellowstone National Park, Island Park. There's some homes up there that are designated as rentals, short-term rentals, and others that you can't do short-term rentals with. So obviously, same area, beautiful location, but some are going to be worth more just because they can produce revenue on a regular basis and service those loans. Now let's talk about investment properties. Now they're measured a little bit differently because they're a business, and they use something called a cap rate. A cap rate is when you take the net operating income of a property and you divide it by the purchase price. So how do you get net operating income? Well, it's easy. You take away all the expenses, right, from the income that's produced annually, take away all those expenses, and it gives you the net operating income. So let's use some easy examples. Let's say you got a property that's producing, say, $100,000 a year. And let's say expenses on that property are $50,000. So at the end of the day, at the end of the year, you're left with $50,000 in net operating income. And let's say that the property is selling for $500,000. So you divide $500,000 into 50,000, that gives you a percentage of 10%. A 10% cap rate is really good, right? Cap rates can definitely go higher than that. They can definitely go lower than that. But really, the way that I like to look at cap rates is just this. I'd say if somebody were to come in and pay 100% cash for a piece of property, how much money or what percentage of return would they make on their money annually, right? So in this scenario, somebody has a lot of money sitting around, they take that $500,000, they buy this $500,000 piece of property and they make $50,000 annually. So their cash on cash return is 10%. And so that's what a cap rate is. And that's how cap rates are viewed when it comes to investment properties. So obviously the higher the number is the better return on investment people will get versus a lower number. Now, what tools can help you determine the value of the property? Well, probably the most famous one is Zillow. And I really like Zillow, right? It gives you so much information. As you dive into it, it even tells you what the property sold for before, what the tax assessment is, but eventually it gives you a Zestimate, which is the current market value. So that's definitely one super easy way that you can find the value of any property. And you can do that just by going on your phone and an app. You can literally have an estimated value of a piece of property within probably 20 seconds. Another way to find the value of a property is an appraisal. And chances are, if you're buying a property, getting a loan, every single bank will want an appraisal. What is an appraisal? I think we all know that, but it's really when a third party comes in and they value your home. They do it based off of what's called comps. Right? These are comps of homes that have sold in that area recently, and they take those comps or those different homes that have sold and they find probably close to the median of what they sold for, and that's going to give an assessed value of your home. It allows the bank to see if they are giving money to you and the price that you're purchasing it for is a good deal for them, a good deal for you. Those are always good things to have because it empowers you as a buyer to say, okay, here's the appraisal price. This is what I'm buying it for. Do they match up? Most times they do, right? Another way to find the value of your home sometimes is just asking a realtor. Realtors are awesome. I've loved working with realtors my whole entire life. Even going to them and say, listen, I'm thinking about buying this property, thinking about selling this property. What do you think is the value of this? What do you think the market would value this property at? And they're really good at being able to pull the comps, being able to pull data and give you something. And if you've got good relationships with realtors, which I would definitely suggest that you do, they are a great resource to help you find values of property pretty quickly and usually very accurate in their findings. Finally, what are a few things you can do to enhance the value of your home? Well, there's a lot of different things, but if we just went through a brief list, cosmetically, anything you can do to enhance the value, whether it's the yard, decluttering the property. Just recently in my home that I live in, we changed the garage doors. They were old, they'd been there a while. We put some nice garage doors in. Honestly, I can't tell you how many compliments we got from just changing the garage doors. Instantly, it enhanced the look of the property, which a lot of times enhances the value. And obviously there's some things you can do inside the home, whether it's remodeling a bathroom or a kitchen, painting the home. Anything you can do to give life to a home and make it look better can really help you increase the value of your home. Now, these are things that I've used to find values of properties, to increase values of properties, but I'd love to hear what you've done, right? We all have different experiences. And so in the comments, feel free to comment, tell me what you've done. I'd love to enter in a dialogue with you. And as always, I've got my free gift for you. It's aaronsfreetraining.com. It's a short-term rental calculator. When you put in the information, it spits out for you whether it's a good deal or not. Once again, thanks for watching. We love having you here. Have a great day.